As a reserved boy whose life has been extremely ordinary to date, Elio Perlman does not have a clue what true love means. With the arrival of a charming American house guest unlike anyone he has ever met before, Elio would learn what it means to want someone beyond friendship. He would learn the meaning of love, longing, desire, and real intimacy. In the beginning, both parties tried their hand at friendship and keeping careful boundaries. Throughout the summer, the two will slowly cross all lines and a simple friendship will blossom into something unexpectedly special. Call Me by Your Name may appear to be a story about a short-lived summer romance, but is an exploration of connection and sexuality that will shape both parties for the rest of their lives as they grow from boys to men. In his free time, Elio Perlman reads in his private corner of the world where he's surrounded by good books. It's how he became so knowledgeable on varying topics at just 17 years old, and it's the reason why people think he's very mature. When he's not reading, Elio's typically transcribing music and playing the piano. Elio doesn't have a lot of friends and tends to spend most of his time by himself. Over time, he has grown accustomed to his own company. Despite having parents who are very open-minded and free-spirited, Elio grew up to be a very good and proper boy. He doesn't have any vices or worrisome habits. He stays reserved and is at home so often that his parents are the ones pushing him to go out, to enjoy, to party, and to experience more. Deep down inside, Elio wants to experience life on a bigger scale too, but he's just not entirely sure how to break out of his safe, comfortable bubble. Indeed, Elio doesn't have a lot of friends in his life, but that doesn't mean he doesn't get the chance to meet a lot of interesting and intelligent individuals. He has crossed paths with so many different types of people from various countries, with different backgrounds, interests, and talents. Elio's parents have been hosting budding academics during the summertime in their huge home in Italy for 15 years. In the guests' time there, they would help Elio's father with his work while his father would help them ready their academic writing. The place comes with a tennis court, swimming pool, beautiful views, and plenty of areas to lay around in the sun. It's not just academics that the Perlmans like to host. Elio's parents are the type of people who simply enjoy other people's company. They loved having people over to eat, converse, relax, and hang out. Elio may not have had many of his friends, but he was always in the company of brilliant people. The nonchalant and laid-back American, Oliver, who seemed okay with anything and everything, who remained unconcerned whatever it is that happened, would be a summer house guest. During their first meeting upon Oliver's arrival, Elio had found his entire nature to be so jarring as compared to their usual guests. He seemed so cold and detached. It wasn't long before Oliver won Elio over, along with everybody else in the household. He was smart, fun, fit, and confident in who he was as a person and what he wanted. The Perlmans were Jewish, but they were the kind who tried to stay silent about the fact. They didn't go around parading their belief or showing signs of it. Oliver was Jewish as well, but unlike the Perlmans, he had no problem with letting the whole world know it. He didn't mind letting people see the Jewish Star of David pendant on his chest. The man was fine with losing things, making mistakes, and being criticized. Oliver intrigued everyone, but he intrigued Elio most of all. If anyone were to ask, Elio would have said he didn't know what it was that he was feeling or when he started feeling this specific way about Oliver. It would be a lie. Elio stayed in the denial stage for as long as he could. He convinced himself that he was interested in Oliver because he wanted to be just like Oliver. Elio couldn't bring himself to admit that it was lust or love, even though he would do just about anything Oliver asked. He partook in just about every activity Oliver had an interest in: swimming, running, fishing, tennis, laying in the sun, and had a great time doing it with him. One day during a tennis game, Oliver casually massaged Elio's shoulders. Elio immediately jerked away in response. Elio couldn't figure out why he reacted in that bizarre way if this was just friendship. Oliver was surprised by this response too, so Elio pretended it had hurt. It was after that moment that Elio found it harder and harder to deny what he felt. He had to move away from Oliver's touch, for if he didn't, he would have fallen right into Oliver's arms. It wasn't friendship Elio wanted with Oliver, he was simply and undeniably falling in love with the man. Elio spent much of his time watching Oliver's every move. He watched his actions, clothes, and words. He knew what mood Oliver would be in when he wore a particular piece of clothing. The two of them spent a lot of afternoons together that summer. The previous houseguest had liked working alone in his room, but Oliver preferred working outdoors with Elio present. He would put a blanket on the ground and have all his essentials with him. Occasionally, in between his working sessions, he would converse with Elio. Elio lived for those moments. He loved the person he was when Oliver was around him. Despite falling deeper for Oliver every day, Elio was certain Oliver didn't feel the same way about him. It was hard for Elio to comprehend that anyone could be like him, could want what he wanted, and could desire him in the same way he desired them. That only happened in books or to other people. He couldn't picture the Oliver who he had come to know so well, who was so self-confident, ever reciprocating his feelings. Most people who got the chance to know Oliver became as interested in him as Elio was. This was the case when Chiara came over and met him. The second that she did, Elio knew she wanted him. Years ago, Chiara always pestered Elio and wanted his attention. At the time, she was just a young, little girl, but now she has grown into a beautiful, sensual woman. Elio found both Chiara and Oliver attractive, and he was interested in both of them. It came as a surprise for Elio that Oliver and Chiara have grown close without him noticing. It seemed they were strangers one second and fooling around, dancing sensually, and being far too close the next. Rather than get mad, Elio got involved. He put himself in the middle. He would talk to Chiara about Oliver, then talk to Oliver about Chiara. During his talk with Oliver, Oliver had told him off. He demanded Elio quit his matchmaking pursuit because he simply wasn't interested. Instead, Oliver told Elio to go for Chiara himself because he knew Elio liked her. Elio couldn't help but think how far from the truth Oliver was. Sure, he was interested in women, but none of that ever matched up to how he worshipped Oliver. Chiara, much like Elio, was just another individual hopelessly in love with Oliver. Oliver was often out for long periods without anyone knowing where he was, what he was doing, or who he was with. Elio wondered and wondered. He was sad and heartbroken, but everyone assumed it was because of his affections for Chiara. No one suspected that it would be because of Oliver. His parents knew he wasn't feeling great. They told him to get out there, to go do things rather than mope around the house. In an attempt to forget Oliver, Elio started dating and sleeping with a close friend named Marzia. She was a welcome distraction and Elio enjoyed having her around. He even almost let himself believe that the whole fiasco with Oliver was just something he made up to make his life more exciting. That only worked until he started wishing what he was doing with Marzia would make Oliver jealous. He wanted Oliver to notice, to care, to hurt, and to say something about it. Oliver was usually rushing from one place to another. He always had some place he needed to be at, whether it involved his work, workout, or splitting his time in between all his new friends. Oliver was heading into town to pick something up and he invited Elio along. Elio was determined to make the most of this day, where they could finally have some alone time. They biked out, stopping for some cigarettes, and amid conversation, Elio indirectly confessed his feelings for Oliver. Understanding his meaning, Oliver told Elio nothing could ever happen between them. He went on to explain that it wasn't because he didn't feel the same way, but that he simply didn't want things to get messy. The two of them tried to continue talking about other things, but the atmosphere had changed. At one point, Oliver got close to Elio and finally did what Elio has been waiting for this whole time. He kissed him. Despite sharing kisses, flirtations, and secret moments, Oliver made it clear that they can't ever go any further. Some days, he would ignore Elio and disappear entirely. After quite some time of continued silence,